Because if you turn into anything or anybody else other than God, man, I know it may seem like it's bringing you peace. I know it may seem like it's bringing you happiness. I know it may seem like it's bringing you fulfillment and joy. But at the end of the day, man, all of that is only temporary. And a lot of times that's why we're still unhappy no matter what we do, no matter who we turn to, no matter who we involved with, no matter who we love and what we love. The reason a lot of times we still feel unfulfilled and so empty in our life is because we're searching for something that nothing and nobody else can ever give us except for God Himself.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
Quite literally. Will Tidwell, a younger gentleman.
I wish I didn't have this big heart. People just do nothing but hurt me. Anybody can dream the dream. Anybody can have a goal, but see,
you're gonna be a neighborhood hero. You just keep shining, young king.
Hey, what's going on, man? This is Will Z to with SpeakUPZee, and you're now tuned into the episode of SpeakUPZee, the podcast. And the podcast where we talk about real things with real people, everything from life to business to mental health, and man, of course, that relationship with God is the most important. Super excited about this episode, man, because it is based off of today's scripture that I read during my just daily devotion time. And I've been so busy that I haven't really been able to just give God that time the way I would love to, the way I know I'm supposed to. But I've been trying my best, man. And I think that's the beautiful thing about this faith journey is that even though we know God shows up for us every day, there are some days when we just can't or don't have the bandwidth or we're just so exhausted from life that we feel like sometimes we can't show up for Him. And again, like I said before, I think the most beautiful thing about that is that even in those times of weakness and falling short and just being imperfect, man, He still loves you. He knows your heart. Um, but that doesn't give us an excuse not to make a conscious effort to spend a little time with Him each and every day. And I think the scripture today, man, is so powerful and it hits on so many of those topics. So I want to go ahead and get into it, and man, then we'll close out with prayer. I don't want to keep you guys here too long. So the scripture today is based on Deuteronomy 9, verse 17. And this is talking. This is Moses talking to the Israelites. Um, Keep in mind now, before I read this, that the Israelites are ones that um, they look to Moses for guidance and guidance. And Moses is this is shortly after he came off of Mount Sinai, where he was directly dealing with God, directly talking to God on a consistent basis. This is when he came down from there, and he came back home to the Israelites, and he found out something. So read here in Deuteronomy 9:17 what he says. He says that, so I took the two tablets and I threw them out of my hands, breaking them into pieces before your eyes. Now, see, that's such a simple scripture, man, that the average eye or the average person, I guess, um, wouldn't think much of that scripture. But there's so much meat on the bone when it comes to the meaning behind that scripture, the significance of that scripture, um, the, the 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 message behind that scripture. You know what I mean? And so I think one of the first questions that it made me think of when I was reading this, because I was doing some background research. So I want to give you some context, man. The reason Moses broke those tablets is because he came back to the Israelites and saw that they had replaced Moses with a golden calf. And so they were replacing Moses with this golden calf because they were going to use this golden calf in order to worship it. And the reason why they did that was for a number of reasons. Things such as fear, such as not being sure if Moses was even going to come back. Um, did this because they felt like they needed something and someone to turn to and to worship and to give their time and their love and their energy to, and a number of other reasons. But when Moses came back, he said, "Wait, what is this?" And so he took the tablets and he broke them. And I think one of the first questions it made me think of when I understood the backstory behind this scripture and what was going on here, it made me think of this question first. Who or what in your life are you worshiping? Who or what in your life are you giving your time and your energy and your love to? Because if anybody or anything else is at the top of that list beside God Himself, then you may be worshiping a false idol too. So I guess the other question, or the other way I can ask this question is, just like those Israelites, what or who is that golden calf in your life? What or who do you turn to for comfort? The reason that the Israelites created this golden calf is because one of the main reasons, because they were afraid. So for you in your life, in those times of fear, in those times of uncertainty, in those times of frustration, in those times of needing to feel safe in your life, who or what do you worship? Who or what are you turning to? Because if you turn into anything or anybody else other than God, man, I know it may seem like it's bringing you peace. I know it may seem like it's bringing you happiness. I know it may seem like it's bringing you fulfillment and joy. But at the end of the day, man, all of that is only temporary. And a lot of times that's why we're still unhappy no matter what we do, no matter who we turn to, no matter who we involved with, no matter who we love and what we love. The reason a lot of times we still feel unfulfilled and so empty in our life is because we're searching for something that nothing and nobody else can ever give us except for God Himself. And until we come to the real hard realization of that, we're gonna be searching for that happiness and that peace for our whole life and wondering why we never find it. So who and what are you worshiping in your life? And like I mentioned earlier, one of the first questions I asked when I found out that Moses broke the tablets because he found out the Israelites had made this gold calf. The first thing I said is, why did they make the gold calf to begin with? And some of the words that came up were things like fear, impatience, and simply finding a way to replace Moses. But the first one that really stuck out to me was fear. See, the Israelites had to find something and someone to worship because Moses had been gone for such a long time or for such an extended period of time that they wasn't sure that he was going to come back. So they wasn't sure who and what their leader was going to be. So they tried to create a leader of their own to have something and someone to follow because sometimes for certain people.
Okay, I found this on the web for find something someone to worship.
My iPad hating. Because for sometimes for certain people and certain things in our life, the only way we feel safe and the only way we feel secure is when we have something and somebody directing us and leading us. That's the only way we feel certain sometimes in our life. And it's the same thing with the Israelites. They were so afraid because Moses had been gone for such an extended amount of time that they were like, who's going to lead us? Who do we follow? Who do we trust? Who's going to help us? And because they weren't sure if Moses was going to come back, they decided to make their own idol, to make their own, to make their own thing to follow and to listen to and trust with. And I think it's the same thing in our life sometimes. There's these certain instances in our life where we feel so alone, where we're afraid and we're not sure if God is there present in our life. We're not sure if God still has his hand over our life. We're not sure if God is keeping his promise like he always said he would. Sometimes we just feel like, man, we're doing this whole thing called life all by ourselves. And in those times of uncertainty and in those times of loneliness and those times of sadness and those times where sometimes our emotions just feel like they're getting the best of us. We're so we're craving so much to find something and someone to turn to in our life. We're almost willing to turn to anything and anybody. And we end up worshiping false idols, just like the Israelites did with that golden calf. We're willing to create these false idols or find these false idols or give our love and our energy and our time to these false idols. And just to make us feel at peace, just to make us feel like we're not alone, just to make us feel like our life is normal the way that it always was supposed to be. But I guess what the scripture really taught me is that, man, no matter who and what you turn to, if it isn't God, you'll never be happy. And the thing about it is that who and what you decide to worship that isn't God, it could look just like God. It could act just like God. It could feel just like God. But if it isn't Him, there's always going to be this gaping hole in your heart. It's craving for God to be there. So I need you to ask yourself, who and what are you worshiping in your life? Who and what is taking up your time and your energy and your love so much that you're not able to give any of it to God? Who and what are you worshiping? Who and what is taking the place of God in your life that needs to be removed so God can finally make his way into your heart? See, because I'll be honest, man, I'm still a baby when it comes to this whole Christian training, man. I'm still figuring it out every day and working on my relationship with him every day. So I'm not asking that like I got it all figured out. But I know this though. I know that when I was out here in the world and I was searching for that happiness and I was searching for that peace in so many other people and so many other things and so many other places. And I never could figure out why I never could find it. I could never figure out why I was unhappy. I could never figure out why I felt so empty inside. And it's because it's no matter how many women you have, how much money you have, how many places you travel to, no matter how many good foods you eat, no matter how many people give you compliments, no matter how many successes you have, no matter how many new businesses you start, no matter how successful your brand becomes, no matter how many followers I have, no matter how many times my videos go viral, none of that shit matters. It's cool. I'm thankful for it. I'm grateful to be able to have a platform, but none of that matters. And if I get so caught up in worshiping that and having happiness only from that and finding out and thinking that's the only thing that's important in my life, I'll never be happy. I'll always be miserable. And see, that's the thing. Don't think that just because you worship God and give him his time and that you are truly one of his people, like we talked about before, don't think that you're always going to be happy when you're worshiping him. It's still gonna be frustrating times. There's still gonna be times when you're questioning everything. But at least you know with him that you have a foundation to fall back on that's going to get you back to that place of peace, even if your life takes you away from that place. At least you know how you'll get back to a place of wholeness, and you have these solid teachings and foundations to fall back on to make your life better than it was before. So what is that golden calf in your life? What do you need to make some changes in life? And I guarantee when you do that, man, you'll be happy than you ever been before. You'll be more whole than you ever knew you could be. But it starts with you. Close out in prayer, man. We get up out of here. God, we just want to come here. We just want to thank you for another day of life. And all that you do for us day in, day out. God, we want to let you know, man. Sometimes we can give so much of our time and our energy and our love to everything and everybody but you. We just want to apologize for that. God, a lot of times we go out wondering why we can never be happy, wonder why we never can be whole, wonder why we can never find peace in it because we're searching for it in all the wrong people and all the wrong things and in all the wrong places. When the whole time, God, you had everything. I don't want to worship false gods. I don't want to worship false idols. I don't want to try to find my peace and my happiness in other places and things, but they'll never give it to me the way that you can. I know right here with you is exactly where we need to be. There's no place I'd rather be. God, you are everything and the only thing. And I understand that if I give you that type of time and that type of energy and that type of love from you, everything flows upon you. God, please be with us now. In Jesus' name we pray. I love you guys, man. Peace.
Hey, what's up? This is Will Z Tidwell with SpeakUPZee. And I just want to take a quick second just to thank you for tuning in to this latest episode of SpeakUPZee, the podcast. And my only goal with this platform is to motivate you, inspire you, and educate you around all things life, business, and mental health, whether it's myself or me bringing on a special guest. So I just want to thank you guys for tuning in. We don't ask for any type of monetary gains or anything like that. The best thing you could do for us is just like and subscribe to the channel. Until next week, we'll see y'all later. Peace.